What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the next NHL superstar that no one is really talking about. No one is giving this guy his credit, and it's not necessarily his fault. He's been playing great, but people don't really know who he is, whether that's because of the market he's in or it's just because he is not a flashy brand name player yet. We're going to have to see. But today's player is going to be Frank Nazar from the Chicago Blackhawks. And we got to talk about him, talk about his success, and talk about why he is not yet a household name. Frank Nazar was picked with the 13th overall pick in the 2022 NHL draft by Chicago Blackhawks. So he's a pretty high first-round pick. But people don't seem to really know how good this guy is. And let's talk about how good he is. Before we get into his play, let's talk about how Frank Nazar signed a pretty big extension with the Chicago Blackhawks this offseason. And people honestly thought it was a steal. But those are people who really know this player. A lot of people were saying, they don't really know anything about him. He signed a pretty, hefty extension. His extension was 7 years at $46 million, just around per total. So per season, that's looking at about $6.5 to $6.6 million a year, which is a lot of money, considering it's a player that not everyone knows who they are, So we talk about what he did to earn this contract, and let's get right into it. Frank Nazar was drafted out of the USHL and made an immediate impact in Michigan, where he played 13 games the next season and got 7 points. Obviously not superstar level, but not bad. And the following season, 2023-24, he put up 41 points in 41 games, which is very difficult to do at the college level. So you have to give him a lot of credit for that. He did end up playing 3 games for Chicago Blackhawks that season, putting up 1 goal, no assists, but just got a goal. He got a goal in his first 3 games, which is pretty good. The following season, though, is where Nazar really broke out. As we know, the Chicago Blackhawks were pretty dismal last season, and for all intents and purposes, they might be dismal again this season. But last season, Nazar got about half a point per game. In 53 games, about 26 points, which is just about half a point per game. Just under it, I guess. But the point is, he played very well, but especially what made him interesting, and I think the reason why Chicago gave him this big extension this offseason is how he finished the season. If you include this season's 3 points in just 2 games, in his last 10 games, Nazar has over point per game. He's 12 points in those 10 games. And he has shown like a true offensive stud that they really need in Chicago, a team that really lacks offensive creativity. Just at the end of last season, in the last 10 games, he did have 9 points, which is still very good. Obviously including the 3 points in 2 games this year, that's great as well. But the point is, he's showing that he's earned that contract early in this season. He already has 3 points in 2 games. He's already been talked about as one of the best young players in the league. But people don't really know about who he is, so let's talk about that as well. The main reason for Frank Nazar not really being a household name yet is because he plays for the Chicago Blackhawks, and that's just the reality of things. We know the Blackhawks last season struggled a lot. We end up getting a super high draft pick, picking Anton Frondell, who, by the way, probably making a video on him too, because he looks like a stud right now. But the point is, Nazar and Connor Bedard, are the 2 best players on Chicago Blackhawks when it comes to their upcoming future. They do have a lot of good young players, but the point is, those are the 2. But speaking of Connor Bedard, he is obviously the household name on that team. He gets a lot of the praise, a lot of the criticism, a lot of the publicity overall, right? Because he was that first overall pick. He was the generational talent that everyone thought he would be. And I really hope that he can hit that point. But right now, Nazar and him are, for me, pretty neck and neck. And I think Frank Nazar is a really talented player. And I don't think it's a Nazar versus Bedard scenario. I think it's a, wow, we have both of them on the same team. We're in good hands kind of thing. Completely possible that Frank Nazar is actually benefiting from not being in the complete spotlight. He is becoming a bit more of a spotlight player. You see him over the social media. You see him on the TikToks with Bedard. They're kind of funny to watch. But the point is, they are kind of sharing the spotlight in Chicago, which I think is great for Bedard too. He's faced a ton of criticism for his first couple of seasons in the NHL. Even if they're winning Rookie of the Year, last year did not really make that step that everyone expected him to make. And I think that him and Nazar are a great 1-2 punch for Chicago, whether they're both playing center, one of them is playing on the wing. People have been discussing Bedard going to the wing and Nazar playing center. That could work too. But the point is, I think it's great for both of them that they both have a kind of co-pilot supporting cast that can both be, great options for offense going forward in this team. That contract for Frank Nazar could be honestly a big steal in the NHL, era of super high contracts. If Nazar can hit 60 or 70 points this season, even as a somewhat young, unproven player, he's fully earned that money. 6.5 mil around there per season is pretty much 50 point range at this point in the NHL. There's so many players who are getting quote unquote overpaid. Might not be overpaid, but the point is they're getting paid a ton of money for producing, which is great. But if Nazar can produce at this contract, his contract will look one of the best in the league. Also important to mention that he is only 21. He was born in 2004, which makes me feel old. I was born in 2002. But the point is, he is killing it right now. And I think that he has a lot of potential. And he's, like I said, only 21. He's only in his really second full season of NHL action. And I think this could be a breakout year for him. I think it's going to be the year where everyone starts to talk about him a lot. In the last 10 games that Frank Nazar played for the Chicago Blackhawks, where he got those 12 points, including the 2 games this season, the Blackhawks are 4 wins, 3 losses, and 3 overtime losses. So they're still a negative record. Despite being this elite, point producer at just 21 years old, he's unable to get the wins for the team. And that's probably going to be why he continues to be a not household name for the meantime. But it doesn't mean that he's not a good player. It doesn't mean he's not affecting the game properly. I mean, we saw them go toe-to-toe with the Florida Panthers and almost escape with the win, So they're not a team that's going to be a pushover this season. They might not finish in a playoff spot. They might still finish near the bottom of the league. But the Chicago Blackhawks are in good hands when it comes to him and Connor Bedard, as well as a few other young players like Lev Shanov, Korchinski, Spencer Knight in net, who I'm a huge fan of. I think they have all the pieces to be a good team long term. They probably won't be a good team this season, but I am rooting for them. I'm a big Bedard fan. I'm a big Nazar fan, and I think that they could be a really, really good team not this season, but going forward in a few years. So I think they have potential, and I think Frank Nazar is a huge part of that. So one more important thing to know about Frank Nazar is that last season he shot around the 12 to 13% range in his season, but in the last 10 games where he's been playing so well, he actually shot 26%. So there's 2 ways to look at that. One would be, okay, this guy is shooting way too high when it comes to this percentage. It's going to come back down. Another way of looking at it is thinking, oh, maybe last season his percentage is pretty low and he can actually do better than that. And maybe he can keep up with that 16 to 17% range over an entire season. So I think he has more goal scoring in the chamber. I think he could maybe get to 30 goals, maybe this season or in a season in the future. But the point is, he has a lot of potential he hasn't hit yet. And I think that him, Bedard, and other young players are going to be leading the Chicago Blackhawks team to be at least an exciting team to watch this season, which I can't really say they were last year, So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they play this year. And I think he's going to be playing a huge role in that. So what do you think about Frank Nazar and the Chicago Blackhawks as a whole? Do you think he can be that future superstar for the team that no one is really, mentioning at this point? Or do you think that he is just another player in the system of a team that doesn't really work too well going forward, because we have seen them not really hit that success in the current, form they're in? But like I said, I think in the few years going forward, they're going to be fine. And, adding a few other players like Anton Frundell is going to be huge for their development. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you can drop a like, drop a comment what you think about Frank Nazar. Like I said, the Chicago Blackhawks as a whole. Drop a subscription if you could. It would really mean a lot to me. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much and take care.